Well, hello and welcome to another in the series of Cafe Insights. I'm Andrew Vine, CEO of the Insight Bureau, and today I'm in conversation with Ben Simpfendorfer. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So Ben, based in Hong Kong, you're the founder of Silk Road Associates. You have written a couple of books, more recently The Rise of the New East and The New Silk Road. You know, you describe yourself as an economist, but more of a business strategist these days. So, welcome.
Thank you. Delighted.
And I hear you've just flown in from Laos.
I have. I've just spent the
How's
last.
that?
Fabulous. China is building out a new railway, connecting up Kunming to Vientiane, and so we were there to conduct some due diligence on that railway and the surrounding industrial parks. So construction has started, and it's a real game-changing moment for what is quite a small country.
Yeah, and it's not a country that many people have been to. We had a little chat earlier, and it's not that easy to get to, and it's always been considered the back door of Thailand. It's all kind of landlocked.
Landlocked is the right way to describe it, and that's why this railway is so important, and it's opening up new commercial opportunities, and not just for Chinese firms, but also Korean, Japanese, American, European. So, I would expect to see a very different commercial landscape over the next few years.
Today, I want to focus exclusively on this whole thing about Belt and Road Initiative. I just feel that a lot of people are talking about it, but very few people really understand what it's all about. And you're the expert in all of this. I mean, you were asked to join the Foreign Experts Committee of the State Administration for Foreign Experts Affairs. No better person to ask. What essentially is it?
China's Belt and Road is an attempt to take its firms international, to build out new multinationals, as well as to build out supply chains across the region, which will make it easier for China to do business with Asia, Middle East and Africa, parts of the world that account for 2/3 of its population, half the global economy. So China is essentially finding a way to do business with the world's commercial future.
Because at one stage it was obvious that China needed to go and find resources around the world, but this is different.
Yeah, absolutely. So very much there is a focus on not just building out infrastructure, and that can be anything from ports to railways, but then also selling product to the region. Don't forget that Chinese consumer goods companies, particularly smartphone companies, have done very well across Asia, Middle East and Africa. Their brands are everywhere, so it really is a full commercial ecosystem.
I mean, which are the countries where we're already beginning to see this roll out?
We have data analytics on over 1,000 China-linked projects in the Belt and Road region, and there's a lot of activity in Southeast Asia, as well as South Asia and East Africa. You see a nice spread of projects, and not just in the power sector, but also, of course, in ports and railway, increasingly in the real estate sector as well. But the real opportunities are in Southeast Asia. That's where you get the commercial scale that both makes these infrastructure projects profitable, but at the same time creates new consumer markets for Chinese multinationals.
Wow. Because even when you look at ASEAN as a landmass, it's essentially continental ASEAN. This is quite an attractive region in itself. Coupled with the new connectivity with China is going to be poised for a big boom.
Well, absolutely. And, China's supply chains with the greater Mekong region, so Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, these supply chains are already quite robust. China is already shipping parts and components to this part of the world for processing and then shipment to the rest of the world. But also land links are beginning to improve, both with railway construction but also road construction. And so what we're seeing again is the establishment of an ecosystem that is allowing Chinese multinationals to really take advantage of the greater Mekong's commercial scale, the sheer size of its markets that are very large compared to any other part of the Belt and Road region.
Yeah. And I know even countries like Singapore, city-state as it is quite enthusiastic about this, but probably more so from the financing side of things.
So over the last 12 months, there's been a real game-changing moment. Now, I've tracked Chinese activities across the region for almost 15 years now, and perhaps for the first time, Chinese companies are looking to collaborate with foreign companies. They're looking to engage professional service providers, and that is quite a change from the type of behavior that we've seen over the last 15 years or so. Singapore, of course, will benefit insofar that it can help Chinese companies both to find local partners in the ASEAN region, but also to provide those professional services that will be so crucial to the success of Chinese multinationals.
At a time when we see America taking its foot off the accelerator a little when it comes to China's engagement and Asia generally, Is this producing a kind of vacuum that China's rubbing its hands together and saying this accelerates our ambitions for growth in the region?
The timing is certainly very good for China, and not only because America, to some extent, has retreated from a select markets in the Belt and Road region, but the timing is also very good simply because growth rates in the region, Asia, Middle East, Africa, are still very robust. Yeah. Domestic demand is very robust. So there's an opportune moment for Chinese multinationals to step in and fill that gap and to become the preferred or one of the preferred suppliers to the region. You know, over the last 12 months, I've had opportunities to go through and conduct due diligence in markets such as Bangladesh, Myanmar. I'm just back from Kenya and Ethiopia. The Chinese presence in all these markets is quite astounding. I was only just in Addis Ababa, and the sheer number of Chinese construction companies building out commercial real estate across the capital is really quite stunning. And that's before you even start to look at the industrial parks, the railway projects that are being built in the country.
So this really does look like a boom time for the wider Asia region. We've been talking about Asia's story being a China story for a long while, but this is going to be much more inclusive of other parts of the region.
It will be. And you know, it's not just about China. What you're actually seeing is Korean and Japanese firms are now more aggressively bidding on tenders for infrastructure projects, are looking to enter into new markets, expand their markets more aggressively than before because they are worried about Chinese competition. I was only recently in the Burmese town of Dawei looking at a port infrastructure project there that's being funded by the Japanese. And it's clear to me, at least, that the Japanese perhaps wouldn't have been interested in the port if it wasn't for the fact that Chinese are so active in the north of the country in Chaopiu.
You know, should we be viewing this as perhaps a threat from the Western point of view?
So Western multinationals, American, European firms are waking up to the fact that competition is already fierce but heating up further. Chinese, Korean, Japanese firms are going to be even more intense competitors over the coming decades. And so I think it's critical for Western firms to collaborate, to become part of the ecosystem if they want to develop a sustainable business in this part of the world for the coming decades.
Well, it does sound like there's a lot of opportunity for everyone. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
See you again next time in Sydney.
Thanks.